Good afternoon, everyone. Allow me to begin this presentation by asking you to imagine that we are having our first ever face-to-face class. So it's Saturday, 2:30 p.m. and we are present in this classroom with Dr. Perez. Before calling the first discussant, Dr. Perez reminds us of our activity. Well, this one is true to life because she gave us activity number 3 last time, right? Suppose that you are this student who failed to submit the assignment on time. How will you convince Doc Paris to give you an extension until tomorrow? Yes, only until tomorrow because I guess it'll be a little too much if we ask for an extension until next week. Anyone? Does anybody here have a convincing power? Could you share with us so we know what to do next time? Well, congratulations because you are about to learn a life hack. Here are 2 ways. First, you could say, "Excuse me, ma'am. I know your time is precious, but do you have a minute? I'm aware of your high regard for punctuality and that activity 3 was due last week. But is it okay if I submit it tomorrow? I believe you are considerate." Or, "Hi, Doc. I know it's a bad time, but could I talk to you for a minute? I haven't submitted activity 3 yet as I was pressed for time. Would you mind if I ask for an extension until tomorrow? I'd understand if you won't." Which lines do you think would best work for you? Some of you may choose the first one, while others, the latter. But believe me, both of them would work. Ladies and friends, gear up as we study the language of politeness. I'm sure that all of us have been raised with the values of politeness. We were taught to say thank you and please. Instead of being demanding, try being nice when asking for something. But have you ever wondered why? That is what we will discuss today. What causes us to be polite to each other? And why do we expect politeness in return? Classmates, what does politeness mean to you? I could sense what you're thinking. Good manners. That's right. To the layman or to people like us, politeness is the behavior of showing good manners and being considerate to others. But to social linguists, politeness refers to the ways of using communicative strategies crucial for building and maintaining social harmony. This is where the politeness theory comes in, or the feature of language use that most clearly reveals the nature of human sociality as expressed in speech. This idea that was proposed by Penelope Brown and Stephen Levinson in 1978 explains that people have a social image that they consciously project and try to protect. Take note of the word self-image. This is our personal view or mental picture that we have for ourselves. Brown and Levinson used Irving Goffman's face theory as a foundation for explaining human interactions that revolved around being polite. The concept of face refers to the self-image we try to portray in social interactions or simply the way we want to be publicly seen. How do you like to be noticed? I guess we all want to be known as individuals with remarkable traits, right? Woo! Well, it is said that we all have 2 faces, or the reflection of our 2 opposite needs. One that desires to be approved of, admired, appreciated, and validated, also known as the positive face, and the other that desires to be unimpeded upon and free from imposition, which is called the negative phase, in which Brown and Levinson referred to as the positive politeness and negative politeness. Positive politeness is the strategy used when one tries to be friendly and make someone feel good. How can we do this? Well, since the positive phase refers to the desire to be liked by others, we do this by affirmations, compliments, and approval. On the other hand, negative politeness refers to the strategy used when one tries to avoid making others feel bad by using indirect statements, being pessimistic, and apologizing. Now let's look at the examples given earlier. Could you tell what type of strategy is used in each set of statements? Again, first is, "Excuse me, ma'am, I know your time is precious, but do you have a minute? I'm aware of your high regard for punctuality and that activity 3 was due last week. But is it okay if I submit it tomorrow? I believe you are considerate." Did you say positive politeness? Correct. Notice how the interlocutor used affirmation with this request. "I know your time is precious. I'm aware of your high regard for punctuality. I believe you are considerate." In short, binola-bola muna. Then we have, "Hi doc, I know it's a bad time, but could I talk to you for a minute? I haven't submitted activity 3 yet as I was pressed for time. Would you mind if I ask for an extension until tomorrow? I'd understand if you won't." Of course, this is negative politeness. You got it. "I know it's a bad time. Would you mind? I'd understand if you won't." Ito naman, paawa effect. Now let's give it a try. Think of someone in your house who is older than you. How could you politely ask him or her to cook and serve you a delicious meal after this class? If you're thinking of saying, "Please cook something for me," yes, that could work. But if you use the positive or negative politeness strategies, I am certain that he or she will immediately run to the kitchen and serve you with love. So, what should we say? Perhaps you could say, "Ate, I like the sinigang you cooked last week. You're a pro. Luto ka kayo ulit nun." Positive politeness strategy. Make them feel great. Bola-bola. Affirmation. Dagdagan mo pa ng, "You the best. Pwede ka na mag-asawa." And, whew, it's almost 6. I'm so hungry na. Ang tagal pang matapos itong class ko. Would you mind cooking for dinner na, ate? Ayan. Paawa. Negative politeness strategy. Avoid making them feel imposed. Use indirect statements. Konsensyahin mo sila. The use of modal verbs that express politeness may also help when applying the negative politeness strategy. Again, they are the positive and negative politeness strategies, or the ways people frame their communicative intentions in formulating their utterances to take account of other people's feelings. However, failure to use these politeness strategies may lead to the face-threatening act, which refers to the illocutionary act that challenges or offends another person's self-image, or from the term itself, threaten other people's face. A perfect example for this is The Little Prince and the King. We know that one of the reasons that made the little prince leave The king's planet is his annoyance at the king's habit of giving orders. Well, maybe the real problem is the way the majesty gives his commands. I order you to yawn. It's been years since I have seen anyone yawning. Yawn again. It's an order. Perhaps the little prince's negative face was threatened because the king directly imposed his command on him. His desire to be unimpeded by his actions was attacked. The king could have avoided FTA if he applied the positive and negative politeness strategies by being friendly or making the other person feel good, or trying to avoid making the other feel bad. But apart from these two strategies, one could also apply the Baldon Record strategy, or by simply addressing the other person or the hearer straightforwardly to express the speaker's needs. Unlike the first two strategies, this type of politeness does not attempt to limit the threat to the listener's face. It is a direct way of communicating without neglecting imposition. In this strategy, the speaker will most likely embarrass or make the hearer uncomfortable due to addressing them directly or through direct command. But for situations where there is a need for something to be done urgently, and so you don't care if you attack their face. An emergency is the best example for this. If your house is on fire, you don't want to wake up those who live with you and say, whenever you have time, you might want to get out of the house. It's starting to burn down. No rush though. Of course, you should scream at the top of your lungs that there's a fire and that they need to leave right away.
3, 2, 1.
And last but not the least, the off record politeness. In contrast to the Baldon Record strategy, this involves some serious indirectness, where the speaker typically avoids saying the potentially face threatening act altogether to reduce or minimize the pressure on the speaker. To put it simply, if a speaker wants to carry out or make an FTA but does not want to be held accountable for doing so, he can use the off the record strategy and defer to the addressee for judgment and interpretation. This includes using vague or ambiguous statements, irony, metaphors, and asking rhetorical questions. Let's take this conversation between a couple as an example. The guy said, "Babe, what if we travel to El Nido for our anniversary?" Then the woman replied, what about Boracay, babe? Notice that the woman did not directly answer her husband's question in order not to offend him that she doesn't like El Nido. Instead, she suggested another idea. The intended meaning of the woman's response may not be clear, but given the context in their relationship, the husband will surely understand what his wife means. So, those are the four main types of politeness strategies: the positive politeness, negative politeness, on record politeness, and off record politeness. Paying attention to other people's backgrounds, such as their ethnicity, political interest, race, and sexual orientation, significantly helps in building and maintaining relationships. And as teachers, it is crucial that we become sensitive with the words that we use, especially when addressing our students. Avoid stereotyping, speak without bias, and be mindful of the paralanguage that we produce. A friendly reminder: you don't grow small when you treat others well in public. Do things for people not because of who they are or what they do in return, but because of who you are. This has been Ma'am Carla, and thank you for listening.